grade 8 practice exam that is talking about finding a pattern here. So the athletics department of a local high school hired a catering company for its annual banquet to be held in the school cafeteria. A total of 80 people bought a ticket to the banquet. To seat everyone, the tables and chairs in the cafeteria will be arranged according to the pattern shown below. Okay, so here we're going to have to do finding a rule from this pattern. Okay, so it's like talking about tables and chairs. So we're going to deal with that in a second. So I'm going to read the rest of the question. It says the graph below shows the cost of hiring the catering company in relation to the number of tables required for the banquet. Okay, so we have cost and number of tables. All right, so this is a second thing where we have to do finding the rule, but it is different from the one up top. So what we have to do first is figure out like how many tables we would need for the 80 people based on this configuration. And then once we get that, we're going to carry that over to figure out, like, for that number of tables, what the cost would be. And then the last thing that it says at the bottom is the money made from the ticket sales corresponds to the cost of hiring the catering company for the banquet. And what was the price of one ticket to the banquet? So whatever cost we get for the tables at the end here, we're going to divide it by 80 people to figure out what our price was per ticket. Okay, so I'm going to start up here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and figure out what's going on with this pattern. Okay, so what I did for myself is I just put tables as X and chairs as Y. So you can just sit there and count them if you want to, but I set up for myself a little table here and I did X and Y. This is hideous, I'm sorry, it's very small. But I'm going to keep a space here for when we have 0 here, okay? Because you're trying to find a rule, all right? So here I'm going to start off in figure 1. I'm going to count how many tables there are. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 tables, which was my X, and I'm actually just going to count how many chairs go with that. So if you count them, 1, 2, 3, 4. Each of the tables has 4 chairs there. So in this case, if you just check that out, you're going to have 16 chairs. Okay, same thing if you count from here, I actually have 8 tables. And if you count them, there are 24 chairs. And in the third one, there's 12 tables. So 1, 2, 3, you have the same thing on each of the sides. And if you count up the chairs, there's 32 chairs. All right, so I'm going to use that to figure out what a rule is here. So if I look at this for my A, because I want to figure out my rule, my rate of change is always the change in Y divided by the change in X. Okay, so here the Y is going up every time by 8. So 24 minus 16 is 8. This is another change by 8. Okay, so that means every time the y-axis is changing by 8 and the x is changing by 4. Okay, and we're going to use that 8 divided by 4 to figure out what my rate of change is, my A. Okay, so when you do 8 divided by 4, it's 2. Okay, so we're talking about a rule like y equals ax plus b here. That's what I mean for my A. Okay. So I already found my A. We also know that the B is what the Y value is when the X is 0. So that's why I left this 0 for myself here. So if here I'm going backwards from 4 to 0, I have to do minus 4. Then since the bottom was changing by 8, I'm going to do minus 8. So 16 minus 8 is 8. And that's what my B is. So that means that my rule for this tables and chairs is 2x plus 8. Okay, so what am I going to do with that? Well, I'm going to take the fact that there's 80 people. You have to stop and think about it. If there's 80 people, is that 80 tables or is that 80 chairs? So each person takes 1 chair, so that would be 80 chairs. So since my chairs is y, I'm going to do it underneath here so you can see. But instead of y, I'm going to replace it with 80 because there's 80 chairs required. And I'm going to try and figure out how many tables that means I need. So now I'm just solving this equation. So you do minus 8 minus 8. So this goes away. I'm left with 72 equals 2x. Last thing I do is divide by 2, and my x is going to be 36. So that means that for 80 people, for 80 chairs, I'm going to need 36 tables. Okay, so now I've solved everything from the first part up here. Now I'm going to come down here. So this is my tables. Okay, I'm going to come down here to the second part, and it says the graph below shows the cost of hiring a catering company in relation to the number of tables required for the banquet. So I need 36 tables. So I have to figure out what is the cost for one table, and like then multiply that by 36 tables. In this case, this relationship starts at 0, 0. So this is just going up in it, like it's a directly proportional relationship. So that means that there's no b here. So if 6 tables costs $260, I'm just going to set up the proportion. So $260 for 6 tables. I'm trying to figure out how much money that is for 36 tables. Okay, so really, you guys know that 6 times 6 is 36, but you can cross multiply this if you would like to. So you're just trying to figure out what this price is here. So this should come out to $1,560. So that was for 36 tables based on this price. The very last thing that I need to do, okay, is I'm going to figure out if it's $1,560, that's the total amount, the total cost of hiring the catering company. Like that number has to be split up to figure out what the cost of one ticket is. So since there's $1,560 is the price, you're going to do that divided by 80 people, and that should give you $19.50. So that is the final price. So that's the price of one ticket to the banquet is $19.50. So that's the answer.